In the 1860s, South America was consumed by a war that would leave one nation nearly destroyed. Paraguay, a small landlocked country ruled by Francisco Solano López, took on an alliance of giants: Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay. The conflict would last 6 years. It would cost hundreds of thousands of lives, and when it was over, Paraguay would be shattered, its population devastated, its territory reduced, its future rewritten by the victors. This is the story of the War of the Triple Alliance, and to understand it, you have to see the world that made it possible. Paraguay in the mid-19th century was unlike its neighbors. Under the López family, and especially under Francisco Solano López, it had built a centralized state, a large army, and a sense of destiny. The capital, Asunción, was the heart of power. But Paraguay was surrounded. Brazil was an empire, vast and ambitious. Argentina was a rising republic, eager to dominate the River Plate. Uruguay was smaller, but strategically vital. The great rivers, the Paraná, the Paraguay, were highways of trade and war. Control them, and you controlled the region. López believed that Paraguay could be more than a bystander. He had ambitions, he had an army, and he had a grievance. When Uruguay was pulled into a Brazilian-Argentine orbit, López saw a threat. So he moved. He sent troops into Brazilian territory. He pushed into Argentina. He was not trying to conquer the continent. He was trying to secure Paraguay's place and to punish those he saw as enemies. But his neighbors did not see it that way. They formed the Triple Alliance, and together they would wage a war that would not end until López was dead and Paraguay was broken. The road to war was paved with miscalculation. López had intervened in Uruguay, then struck at Brazil and Argentina. He had hoped to act quickly and force a favorable peace. Instead, he had united 3 powers against him. Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay pooled their armies and their navies. They had more men, more money, and more access to the outside world. Paraguay was isolated. Its population was smaller. Its economy was weaker. But it was determined. López mobilized the nation. Men were conscripted. Women and children were drawn into war work. Indigenous communities, Guarani and others, were caught in the middle, some fighting for Paraguay, some displaced, some destroyed. The sources we have, Paraguayan archives, Brazilian and Argentine reports, soldier letters, diplomatic correspondence, tell a story of escalation and desperation. They also have gaps. Indigenous perspectives are largely absent. Casualty numbers are disputed. Propaganda on all sides distorted the picture. But the outline is clear. By 1865, Paraguay was at war with the Triple Alliance, and the alliance was committed to total victory. The war was fought on many fronts. On the rivers, gunboats and transports moved armies and supplies. On land, armies clashed in the heat and disease of the Paraguayan interior. The alliance pushed slowly, painfully, toward Asunción. There were great battles. Tuyutí in 1866, the largest battle of the war. Curupaití, where Paraguayan defenses held. There were sieges, Uruguayana, Humaitá, and finally the capital. The Paraguayan army fought with ferocity, but it was outnumbered and outgunned. López refused to surrender. He ordered retreats, forced marches, and last stands. Civilians suffered terribly. Famine, disease, and forced labor killed as many as combat. Cities were destroyed. The countryside was stripped. By 1869, the alliance had taken Asunción. López had fled north with a remnant of his army and his government. In 1870, in the hills of Cerro Corá, he was cornered. He fought until the end. When he fell, the war was over. Paraguay had lost. The alliance had won. But the cost, on all sides, had been almost beyond measure. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Hit the like button to show your support and turn on notifications so you never miss a deep dive into history. Your support helps us bring more accurate, fascinating stories straight to you every week. In the wake of the war, Paraguay was a ruin. Its population had been cut by half or more, by battle, by disease, by starvation. Its territory was reduced. Brazil and Argentina took land. The political order was remade under alliance supervision. Indigenous communities had been devastated. The Guarani and others had been conscripted, displaced, or killed. The war had been a demographic and cultural catastrophe. For Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay, victory had come at a huge cost in men and money. But they had reordered the region. Paraguay would never again be the power it had been under Lopez. The war left a legacy of trauma, of disputed memory, and of a nation that would spend generations rebuilding. It also left a question. Was Lopez a hero who defended his country, or a dictator who led it to ruin? That debate has never fully ended. The War of the Triple Alliance was one of the deadliest conflicts of the 19th century, in proportion to population. It shaped the borders and the politics of South America. It left Paraguay with a lasting sense of loss and a complicated relationship with Lopez, celebrated by some as a national hero, condemned by others as a tyrant. For historians, the war raises hard questions about empire, coalition warfare, and the limits of small state defiance. For the region, it's a reminder that the past is never simply past. The borders drawn then, the populations displaced, and the stories told and untold still matter. The Paraguayan War is not just history. It's a wound that the region still carries. 6 years, 3 nations against one. Hundreds of thousands dead. Paraguay broken, Lopez dead, and a continent changed. The War of the Triple Alliance is a story of ambition, miscalculation, and catastrophe. Thanks for watching. There's so much more history to explore, so stay tuned for our next videos. We'll dive into even more fascinating stories around the world. And of course, subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode.